I've identified specific tools and some skills that I've acquired, and I've noticed certain characteristics that have come through being a warrior woman. So the first tool that I've come across is, in an airplane, they always tell you before you can assist anyone in a case of emergency, make sure that your own oxygen mask is secure. And most of the time, as people, we want to help, we want to fight, we want to be brave, but we don't secure our own mask.
Oh, girl, I am going to be clicking my fingers right there. Make sure your own oxygen mask is secured. I love that.
This is specifically and especially true for women because we replenish everyone around us, but we forget to refill our cup. And you can't do that from an empty cup. This is when we have colloquial jokes. Siyaphela because we just don't take that moment to secure that oxygen mask before we assist umakhelwane, or to, fill that cup that we need to fill before we begin to replenish anyone else. So that's the first tool. And I found that my specific tool of replenishing, it's silence. Silence is the most beautiful gift you can give yourself. So whether it is couch surfing for a day, whether it is to begin your day in meditation, in silence and just pray or meditate, or whether it is to start the day just hitting the treadmill, whatever it is that clears your mind and allows that stillness to overcome you. That's what we need. So I think that is an essential tool that is required of being a warrior, because you can't get up and pick up that sword if you're not rested, if you're not replenished. The second thing that I've also picked up in terms of, I think, a characteristic, which is resilience. No, so let's not get it twisted. Resilience. Resilience means even when the going gets tough, you don't stop. I'll never forget the quote I once read by Winston Churchill that said, "When you're going through hell, keep going." Because the problem is sometimes when you stop, it's okay to stop. Don't get me wrong. It's okay to stop, take a breath, regroup, cry, have that tub of ice cream, reach out to your tribe, let them, pull you out. But you're pausing. It's called a pause break, but you keep moving. The problem is when you stop and you completely sit down, then the danger is that you will never get back up. So I'm talking about the resilience of keeping going when things are rough, when things are not quite where they should be, because the beauty of life is that nothing lasts forever. Everything has a start and an ending. So that's why you need to keep moving, because sooner or later, you would have gone through that storm. And we need to start getting in that mode where there's a beautiful quote I once read, and I feel like I'm starting to live it as I tap into my truth, which is says, "Fate whispered to the woman, 'You will never survive the storm.' And she whispered back, 'I am the storm.'" So that's what I mean by resilience. And then, of course, the other thing that I've picked up is, when you're constantly refilling your cup, but it's the thing that I tell everyone, because I've had to learn how to read my own body when I react to certain situations, that my solar plexus, aka my wisdom chakra, manifests sometimes as fear. I've learned that being brave or being courageous or being a warrior is not the absence of fear. It is doing it in spite the fear. And I remember watching a movie called Border Zoo, and what the father said to the son has stuck with me. And basically the father said to the son, all the universe requires you to do is to have 30 seconds of courage. And then after that, everything takes care of itself. And I think that's what it is another characteristic, is that being courageous is not the absence of fear, but it's just that 30 seconds of courage, and then you will get through it. And what I was saying to my uncle, that when life unfolded and happened, I needed to take stock of what was happening, view it, and then keep it moving. My problem was getting stuck in it and then ending up carrying things that I had no business. And I love this quote that says that, my dear, those hills and valleys that you are carrying, you were not meant to carry. You were simply meant to summit. And I think that's another key characteristic of a warrior, is that they learn that the hills and valleys they go through, they simply to summit and not to carry them. But at the same time, as you're summiting, You get to a point in your journey, you realize, for me to summit this, something has to give. So I have to let go of something. And this is a characteristic I try to have in my life and embrace, which was the knowledge that I have to die a little bit. So dying means letting go of something that I truly, truly desire in order to get what it is that I need to move on to the next level, which I call trying to exist in the phoenix state. Now, for the phoenix to be its ultimate self, it has to die and be reborn. And so for a warrior to become the best version of themselves, they will suffer defeat so that they can come back stronger and wiser. And the key word being wiser. It is so critical for women to see themselves as warriors because we need to claim back how we identify ourselves. We need to change the labels that we not only assign to ourselves, but we use to live our truths. Women are nurturers by nature.
Yes.
We are builders of legacies for generations to come. Now, you can't do that being scared. I have seen women who are timid at times, but when you come after they are young, they become lionesses. So we are inherently warriors, but I don't know if we've been socialized to believe that it is vulgar to claim our warrior status and to revel in it, or whether it has been socialized in us that it is not the polite thing to do. So we are warriors because we show up for our tribes. No one shows up for other people like women. We show up for our sisters. We show up for our mothers and fathers. We show up for our partners. We show up for our businesses. We show up for our countries when things need to get done. 80% of the time, if not 90, it is the women who are showing up and doing it. So we are warriors, and warriors come. And as I said, I stressed that I didn't see myself as one kind of warrior because we're multifaceted like that. And so it is so, so important now as women, when we're moving through this current time, so many things are shifting. So many dialogues are happening. So we need to claim this concept of warrior, and we need to claim what it means to be a warrior woman, because it may not be burning off the bras like they did in the 60s, but it is building the economy of the country one business at a time. It is facing your biggest fears and championing through them. And so that the little cubs that follow us know not to give up. And I love this poster that I once saw that said, every time I think of giving up, and it was a lion, it was a picture of a lion, and behind it was a little cub. And it said, every time I think of giving up, I look back and realize who's looking at me. And you realize you have to do it for the girls that are coming up behind us, for our nieces, our nephews, our daughters, for the grandchildren we have. I am a product of women 50 years ago who sat down and said, I want my children to have this kind of life. I am their wildest imagination today. I am living that life. So I am owning the warrior and I am championing the life that I'm leading so that my granddaughter can be empowered when she sits down and says, oh, Kwame has begun, and she built a property portfolio, it became a fund. That's how we empower our children. So we need not only to claim it, but to revel on what it means to be a warrior unapologetically and forget politeness. There's two things. Warriors are inherently givers.
Yes.
Because you cannot be a warrior without giving, because you're fighting not only for yourself, but something bigger than you and for other people. Inherently, that's what women do. So when you do that, I think you forget one basic principle: how to receive. We don't know how to receive, whether it is a compliment, whether it is help, whether it is kindness, or most importantly, love. It's okay to receive. And in receiving, that's how you grow stronger. So please, please, whatever you get gifted, receive it. Don't scorn it. Don't think I'm above that. Receive it. The second thing about another trait of being a warrior is that, like I said, you're a giver. And so what happens with givers is that they don't set boundaries. It is mandatory for you to stay a healthy and sane warrior to have boundaries and enforce them unapologetically. Because how else are you going to go about the business of being the warrior? Taking names and kicking asses and doing what you need to do and slaying all those dragons if you don't have boundaries. And if you don't teach people to respect those boundaries. It is one of the quintessential things of being a warrior is mastery of self, and secondary is setting up of boundaries to ensure that self remains sane and happy. Again, it cannot be one person because so many people bring so many things into me.
Yeah.
And so again, I started off thinking that it's the triangle again, but my soul is saying to me, it's more than that. So I have my first square.
Yes.
And so for me, the three are women and one is a woman in training.
Okay.
Yeah. So the three are my mother, my mom's mother, Mama Katie, and my father's mother, Mantlov.
Yes.
These three women were independent, very strong-willed women. And other day I made an observation that the three of them got married very young, and they got married to men that were much older than them. And I think their marriages survived because they were married to men who are much older than them, who allowed them to be themselves and didn't try to couch them in as much or put them in a device of what marriage is so they can be themselves. I am everything that I am today because of the decisions they took in their time, wanting their children to have better lives. I have the strength because they taught me how to have the strength in the decisions they made and how they carried themselves and lived their lives. Now, the woman in training is one who makes me brave when I feel like I'm not being brave. And that is my niece, Baba Zora Poto, because I see a beautiful young spirit who is capable of so much. And I break down parts so that when she walks through them, she's empowered in that knowledge that her aunt did it. So therefore, who is she to fail? And so those are the four, I would say, that spur me on. Three are the women who, when I sit down and I look at myself in the mirror and I say, "Ke setlogolo sa Mama Getsi, le Mantlovu, ngwana wa Mami Dupi." Who am I to not be the best version of myself? And then I look at Babatsu and I say, every obstacle and challenge I face, I will master it so that she may saunter through in the confidence that she is capable and she is worthy.